Hey friend, welcome back. This is a podcast for women who are sober or sober curious and are looking for support in navigating a life without alcohol. You may be thinking, what does that even look like for me? How do I live a life without drinking that doesn't feel like I'm missing something or missing out? How do I keep a consistent practice of sobriety? And how do I get to that next level of living where I'm so happy, so peaceful, so present and content that I don't even think about alcohol anymore? Keep listening, because my goal is to light a spark in you so that you stop drinking and live your life in a way that you feel proud of every day. I have something so special for you today. Let's dive into it. If you've been feeling like you're stuck in some sort of secret tug of war with yourself, if you've ever had that moment where one part of you is like, we're not drinking tonight, and then by 6 p.m. you're pouring the glass anyway, I want you to know you are in the right place. This episode is not a pep talk. It's not a motivational, you've got this kind of moment. This is about showing you what's actually happening in your brain when you justify drinking. And more importantly, what you can start doing today to interrupt it, because you know I love a good assignment. So let me tell you about a client of mine first. We're going to call her Amanda. Amanda is a VP at her company. She runs a team, she juggles family life, and somehow she still manages to host perfect little backyard dinner parties like she's auditioning for a Netflix show. She came to me and said, I don't get it. I can make $1 million decision at work, but I can't seem to stop myself from pouring a glass of wine after 5 p.m., even when I swear I won't. Okay, here's what you need to know. She wasn't clueless. She read the books, listened to the podcasts. She knew all the reasons alcohol wasn't serving her, but her knowledge wasn't the problem. Amanda was stuck in something that I sometimes refer to as super thinking. It's when your brain, especially the high achieving, over analytical part, starts rationalizing the habit. You're tired. You've earned it. You'll quit next week. It all starts to sound really logical. It sounds true, but it's not. It's just your brain doing what it's always done, trying to create relief and safety using the fastest, most familiar route. And that familiar thing for Amanda, and maybe for you too, was alcohol. So here's where this might show up for you. It's the moment you open the bottle, even though you promised yourself you wouldn't. We've all had those moments. If you're listening to this, I'm assuming you've had that moment. Another one is that 3 p.m. spiral where you're planning not to drink, but mentally negotiating just one. That social event where you tell yourself, I'll stop after 2, but you don't. Or my favorite, because I lived this one so often, sitting on the couch, wine in hand, thinking, I don't even want this, so why am I doing it? If any of these have you kind of nodding your head saying, yep, that's me, this episode is here to open your eyes wide open, because when you understand this, you stop blaming yourself. First of all, like, so important. You stop saying what's wrong with me, and you start realizing, oh, this is just programming and I can change it. Like, I want you to know you can change. Like, seriously, I want you to know that. You can do it. Okay, so settle in, take a breath, and get ready, because what we're diving into today might just change how you see everything. At least I hope it does. Okay, why your brain justifies drinking. Let's break this all the way down, because once you understand why your brain keeps convincing you to drink, you can stop personalizing it. You can stop thinking, I'm a failure, and start realizing, oh, it's just biology. But I'm not stuck here, because high achieving women are the best at rationalizing. You're trained to lead, fix, handle, and your brain gets really good at making even your coping mechanisms sound productive. We tell ourselves things like, I'm just decompressing, or it's my ritual. And something I used to do all the time is say, I'm not as bad as, so-and-so, in order to make myself feel better, even though I always felt like garbage. So set those justifications aside, because I am going to share with you the why behind it. Here are 4 reasons your brain justifies drinking, even when you know it's not aligned with who you want to be. First, your brain's number one job is efficiency, not alignment with your goals. Your brain isn't wired to help you become your highest self. It's wired to keep you alive with as little energy expenditure as possible. That means it runs off of shortcuts, also called neural pathways. When you've repeated something often enough, like reaching for a drink when you're stressed, lonely, or overstimulated, your brain stores that as the fastest route to relief. Even if it's destructive, your brain is going to prioritize it because it's familiar, fast, and easy. That's why you can be saying, I don't want to do this anymore, and still find yourself reaching for the corkscrew without even thinking about it. This isn't failing, and it's definitely not about willpower. It's called autopilot. But autopilot can be reprogrammed. Okay, we're going to talk about the prefrontal cortex here. The prefrontal cortex gets silenced under stress. It's the part of your brain responsible for logic, long-term thinking, and alignment with your values. It's the part of you that makes lists, sets goals, reads the books. But when your nervous system is under all of this pressure, especially after like a long day at work or, a challenging parenting moment, emotional labor, your limbic system, which is the emotional center, kind of takes the wheel. So this is what we call state-dependent behavior. You think differently when you're dysregulated. That's why at 10 a.m. you're feeling strong, committed, clear. And by 6 p.m. you're rationalizing wine like your life depends on it. It's not because you don't have willpower or because you're, failing at something. It's because your brain is in survival mode, not strategic mode. So dopamine hijacks your decision making. Okay, this is the next one. Alcohol spikes your dopamine, especially early in the habit loop. Even before the drink hits your lips, the anticipation of it gives your brain a quick hit of pleasure and reward. So your brain starts chasing that hit, not even for the alcohol, but for the relief that it associates alcohol with. That's why saying no feels so hard. You're not just resisting a drink, you're resisting the promise of relief. And unless you have another reliable, embodied way to feel good, your brain will always default back to what it knows will give you that kind of dopamine spike. For so many years, I was relying on alcohol for that spike. Okay, next step. Self-justification is a safety mechanism. Your brain is designed to reduce cognitive dissonance. That mental discomfort that comes from holding two conflicting beliefs, like, I don't want to drink tonight and I'm pouring a glass anyway. So to resolve that tension, your brain sort of rewrites the story. Justifications. It's been a long week. Everyone else drinks. This doesn't count. It justifies the choice to maintain a sense of safety, consistency, and identity. I have some really good news for you. The moment you start seeing those justifications for what they are, protective and not truthful, that's when you can get your power back. That's when you can start taking control. So now that you understand how this whole process works, you can stop treating drinking like a discipline problem and start treating it like a pattern that can be changed. Okay, in the next section, I am going to show you exactly how to do that. Okay. Here's a little bit about what super thinking sounds like. Now that you understand how your brain is wired to protect you, not shame you, it's time to put some language around it. Because all of these justifications, these internal negotiations, they don't show up in a big dramatic declaration. They show up as quiet whispers that sound like truth, but are actually just you super thinking. So let's walk through a few of the most common ones that I hear from clients and the ones I lived myself. Top on the list. It's Friday. I've had a long week. I deserve this. Okay, you're not wrong. You do deserve rest, reward, and relief. But when your brain has been trained to associate those things only with alcohol, it doesn't know where else to turn. So that thought isn't a craving. It's just a cue. I'll just have one is the next one. Classic short-term relief strategy. Your prefrontal cortex knows this isn't how it ends, but your limbic system is like, We'll deal with the consequences later. That is state-dependent behavior in action. Okay, the other one, at least I'm not drinking as much as I used to. That's comparison as self-soothing. It minimizes the problem so you don't have to confront the discomfort of changing it. But progress isn't about less, it's about alignment. And I do want to point out here that what is really important is to compare yourself to what you're trying to achieve and how close you are to reaching that version of yourself. And so when that is the case, it's okay, last month I drank less than I did the month before. And that's how you can see that progress through comparison of different time frames in your journey. But don't let it get you to the point where you're saying it's okay that I drink because I'm drinking less than I used to. So we don't want to minimize the problem as we're reaching for the goal. Okay, the other one is everyone else drinks. It's normal. This one is all about social belonging. Your brain would rather blend in than break the pattern because to the nervous system, rejection feels like danger. This is what can really keep you stuck. This is all about feeling like you don't want to fit in, which is likely one of the original reasons why you started drinking in the first place, maybe as a teenager in your early 20s. Okay, the next one. I'll start Monday. I'll reset after this vacation. I'll get serious when summer ends. Okay, that is deferral. It gives your brain a sense of control without having to take action today. But all it's really doing is protecting the habit loop for one more night. This is that procrastination on reaching your goals. So if this sounds familiar, these aren't random thoughts. These are micro justifications designed to lower discomfort and avoid identity disruption. In other words, they're your brain trying to keep you safe, using the only tools it's been taught. So here's the really big takeaway that I want you to know. Just because the thought feels true doesn't mean that it is. And the moment you start calling it what it is, super thinking, you create space. And in that space, you get to make different choices. Does this sound familiar? Okay, this is what super thinking does. Doesn't show up screaming. It just whispers. It wraps the same old decision in new language to make it feel reasonable. And I'm going to be really honest with you. What drove me nuts wasn't the nights that I believed the logic. It was the nights that I didn't. There was this stretch of time, and maybe you've had one too, where I would pour the glass. And even as I was doing it, I knew the justification was total BS. I wasn't convinced. I wasn't comforted. I was just stuck, going through the motions, disconnected from myself. And that was its own kind of pain because now I wasn't just negotiating with myself. I was watching myself abandon what I actually wanted in the name of autopilot. I remember so many nights I would have this moment of standing in my kitchen, my glass in hand, thinking, you're too smart for this story. You don't even believe it anymore. And yet I drank anyway. I started to realize this wasn't about knowledge, and it certainly was not about willpower. It was about a body pattern, one that needed to be interrupted, not out-argued or out-negotiated. That's when everything in my journey would start to change, not because I got stronger, but because I finally stopped trying to logic my way out of it. Okay, next, I want to walk you through exactly how to break that loop in real time, not with willpower, but with awareness, nervous system regulation, and new identity building actions that actually stick. Okay, I'm excited about this part. So this is rewiring the loop. Now you know the thoughts you're having are not random. They're super thinking, protective, automatic responses that your brain's been conditioned to run whenever you're overwhelmed, tired, lonely, stressed, or just kind of craving that relief. So what do you do with that? Let's talk about how to interrupt the loop and rewire your response. Not with discipline, not with shame, but with tools that actually work in the real world. First one is this pattern interrupt. Name the thought. This first step is really simple, but it's really powerful. You have to call it out. When the thought comes up, I deserve this, or just one, or F it, I'll try again tomorrow. You don't need to fight it. You just need to name it. Say, that is super thinking. Out loud if you can. In your journal maybe, in your head. You have to interrupt the autopilot because naming this thought for what it is moves you from reaction to awareness. It puts your prefrontal cortex back in the room. It has a seat at the table again. This isn't just about resisting your urge. It's about stepping out of the trance long enough to remember, I have a choice. Okay, number 2, body before brain. Regulate first, decide second. When your body is in fight or flight mode, your decisions are coming from urgency, not alignment. You can't think your way out of a dysregulated state. You have to move through it. So instead of immediately trying to figure out whether or not you'll drink, start with nervous system regulation. Put your feet on the ground, grab something cold and hold it. Step outside for 60 seconds of air. Shake your hands out. Taylor Swift, my fellow Swifties, shake it off. Breathe in through your nose for 4, out through your mouth for 6. Give your body what it's actually asking for, a moment of pause. Once you're regulated, your brain stops screaming, urgent, urgent, and you can hear your real voice again. Okay. Number 3, act as future you. Create micro proof. The third step is to make a move that aligns with the version of you that you're trying to become. Not the perfect move, not the never drinking again vow, just one aligned action that builds self-trust. Maybe it's brush your teeth early, or move your wine glasses into another cabinet, or get rid of them altogether if that feels good to you. Pour a San Pellegrino into your fancy glass. Text somebody that you love. Go sit somewhere new in your house. Every small choice you make is a vote for your future identity. And every single one of those votes stack. That's how you go from this feels impossible to this is who I am now. One of my clients told me, once I started calling it super thinking, I stopped believing it. I could literally feel the space open up between the thought and the action. And that's the real power of this work. You're not just understanding what's happening, but knowing exactly what to do when it does. Next, we're going to talk about what it looks like to go deeper into this kind of transformation and how Feel Good AF supports you every step of the way. But before we move on, I want to pause and say something that might sting a little bit, and you've probably heard me saying it before. This episode is not going to change your life. Only you can change your life. Because when I talk about the books and the podcasts and all of the knowledge you accumulate as you start doing this work, not being the thing that will actually change things for you, I'm also talking about my own podcast. Because you can re-listen 10 times. You can take notes. You can nod your head. Wow, that makes so much sense. Yes. But if you close this app and go back to the same loop, the same routine, the same internal negotiations, nothing changes because knowing why your brain justifies drinking doesn't rewire the pattern. Doing something different is what rewires the pattern. And this is where so many of us get stuck. We stay in the learning mode, consuming, absorbing, understanding. But healing doesn't happen in your head. It happens when you take what you've learned and start layering it into your real life. That means building these tools into your actual routine. Your Tuesday night, your Friday happy hour, your Sunday reset. That means practicing them when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or when the F it voice is screaming the loudest. So if you've been listening to this show for a while, if you're resonating but still circling the same problem, this is your moment to stop sitting on the sidelines of your own transformation. Because everything you want on the other side of drinking, the peace, the clarity, the confidence, it doesn't show up because you understand it. It shows up because you live it. At some point, it stops being about gathering more info. It starts being about having a space to live what you already know. You need a space where you can turn your knowledge into action, a space that helps you stay with the discomfort instead of defaulting to wine, a space that meets you in the messy middle when you know what to do, but your nervous system still is not convinced. The first time you do something different, pour a seltzer, say no, walk past the bottle, it's probably going to feel really awkward, hollow, maybe even pointless. It's not. It's rewiring in real time. And you can try this. You can try this tonight. Tonight, don't aim for perfection. Just do one thing differently. One shift, one interruption. That's the beginning of proof. That's how you start building momentum and creating change. That's exactly why women hire me. This is what we do when we work together. If you've been listening and thinking this is exactly what's been happening in my brain, then this is your sign to stop circling the problem and start creating proof that you can do it differently. Because this is the work that we do inside Feel Good AF. This isn't another mindset hack or motivational pep talk. It's a 12-week experience designed to interrupt the habit loop at its root: your nervous system, your beliefs, your daily identity. Inside, you're not left to figure it out in silence. You're supported, held, and challenged in the most grounded, safe, and real way possible. One of my clients said this just a few weeks ago. I've read the books, I've done the challenges, but nothing has stuck until this. Being in this group didn't just change my habits, it changed my self-concept. And now I'm trusting myself again. One of my clients recently shared just before she wrapped up our time together, I actually stopped counting sober days and started creating new habits I wanted to remain sober for. I started taking Pilates. I left a job I was no longer growing in. I got honest about my values, and I'm no longer living a mediocre life. I'm finally pursuing what I really want. And that is really this shift that starts to happen when we start our work together, from knowing to doing, from hoping to leading. This isn't about abstinence. It's about agency. It's about no longer living at the mercy of a habit that doesn't serve you and building something better in its place. Okay, you know that you can join us by clicking the link in the show notes or DM me ready on Instagram or Facebook, and we can find out if it's a good fit. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Okay, that's it for me this week. And if you've been loving this podcast, please, please, please take 10 seconds to rate it and subscribe to it. It helps other women find the support they've been craving too. You're not behind, you're not stuck, you're just ready for a new kind of support, and that begins now. Okay, I hope to talk to you soon. If this episode stirred something inside of you, do not let it fade. Screenshot it, message me, leave a review, but most importantly, act on it. This might be the moment that changes everything. I love you and I believe in you.